Okay, so as we were talking off air, as they say, so our learning tonight, our Torah time tonight. Anyone listening to this should please have in mind that everyone should be safe, as it seems a war is breaking out with Iran, and really, literally, as we speak. So our Torah time, our Torah study together, and any mitzvos that we do over should be a merit for, as the rabbi here likes to say, b'schus Eretz Yisrael and Am Yisrael, a merit for the Holy Land and a merit for the Jewish people. Everyone should be safe, and there should be peace speedily in our days. And we'll take it now. How's that sound? But God willing, that it should be a merit for that. Okay, so I know that awesomely Will texted me earlier, asked me a question. I did not have a chance to research two parts of the question. That's always fun to have a project for that. I know Jason likes projects, so maybe Jason will do some research for us over the weekend. But the question was, when you look inside the Torah this week, it goes. We already learned earlier. Back in Exodus, when we were talking about the building of what the vessels are supposed to look like and how they're supposed to be made. So when we talked about that, it talks about how there's something called miksha achatz, something that means they took a block of gold and they hammered out of it the particular items that they had to make. Now, some were allowed to be piecemeal. You took this and took that and you welded them together. That was fine. But some things were not allowed to be so. The one that I've already researched a little bit is the actual menorah. The menorah was not allowed to be piecemeal. The menorah was supposed to be one big chunk of gold that Moshe then would go ahead and hammer out of it, and hammer and chisel and all those kind of fun things out of it, the menorah. Now, the menorah, for those who saw at least the one approach to it, which they have sitting in the old city of Jerusalem, put together by the Temple Institute. At least according to one of the opinions about what it potentially looked like, it is not a simple item. It is very, very detail oriented with a lot of parts, and it would have been a lot easier to form each piece, right? Make it, and then put the whole thing together. Okay, great. But that's not how it was allowed to be. It's not what Moshe was supposed to do when it came to making that part. The other part that Will brought up is the cherubs, or the cheruvim, which are the angelic baby-faced winged forms. I'm not sure what the good word to use is, right? That were on top of the Holy Ark. So that brings the same language of, I believe it's the same language of Miksha. I didn't just look up the exact words. But I believe it says Miksha over there. And the other item that Will brought up was help me out.
The trumpets. Moshe's
right,
trumpets.
The trumpets. So the trumpets are, and those, so the trumpets are something that I think we talked about the trumpets last year. It's possible we talked about trumpets last year. Right, Larry, do you remember that, Larry? I think we talked about trumpets last year. If not, we can maybe mention it tonight, but we'll see if we have time for that. A lot of things to talk about in the Torah portion, especially the kvetching Jews. Here we go. Kesef miksha ta'aseh asam. Like Will said, it said make them hammered out. So the difference over here, though, I didn't get a chance to research properly, which I want to be careful what we say. I believe by the menorah it says the language of miksha achas, where it was one thing, and then you formed it like that. So we'll have to do a little more research to see if the other ones required it being one piece, as opposed to just having to go through that hammering. So we'll have to look into that a little more just to make sure we understand that properly. But for sure, in regards to the menorah, I'll quickly share with you one of my favorite ideas. Something I've developed a little bit over the years, and then perhaps I've already shared it with you guys in the past, or anyone else listening to this at some point. Perhaps we talked about this. But my favorite idea about the menorah, which has to do with this concept of taking a block of gold and then forming out of it the menorah, so much so that at the end of the story, Moshe was not able to fully do it. So in fact, Moshe went ahead, I believe the Medrash says that I have to look this up also, he went ahead and he had to basically throw it into the fire and ultimately Hashem is the one that finished forming it, because it was not something that Moshe was able to physically figure out. But that being said, Moshe still went through that process, and Hashem still required that process of taking that big block and smashing and hammering and chiseling and all those kinds of things to make it what it's supposed to be. Even if he failed lots of times, ultimately he had to turn to Hashem. So the idea that really that I've always taken from it is, in the tabernacle we have the Aron HaKodesh, right, the Holy Ark, and we have the Menorah. The Holy Ark is symbolic of the written Torah, right? We got two parts of the Torah. We have the written part of the Torah, and we have the oral law. Now, it's okay. So we have the Torah scroll and the Tanakh and so on and so forth. That those are the written Torah, and they're written down. Those are the parchment. They're on parchment, right? Open up the Aron, find it there, right? And okay, got the Megillah and those kind of things, right? That's the written Torah. But what's the parchment for the oral Torah? Well, you'll say there is no parchment because it's oral. Well, guess what? They talk about how what does that mean? Really, the oral Torah is written on each of us. We are the written Torah, right? Well, sorry, we are the oral Torah. That's who we are. So each of us really is a menorah. Menorah is symbolic of a tzaddik, of a righteous person. So each of us, each and every single person, is really a menorah. So what's this lesson over here that God's giving over to us and giving over to us? God's saying to each and every single one of us, God's saying, look, I created you as a block of gold. You're a block of gold. And when I created you with exactly what you need to be successful and to become the best version of yourself, which would be a perfect menorah. That's what I did. I gave you the talents. I gave you the challenges that you need, the imperfections that need to be taken out. I've given that all to you. One big package. And your job in life is to hammer and smash and heat up and crack and bend and turn and twist. This is what we have to do, because each of us has got it there. It's all in there. It's our job to take the lessons around us, right? Pay attention to other people, listen to the wisdom that others have, right? And so on and so forth, right? In whatever way that it is, study the Torah we need to study so that we can learn more, right? Talk to the psychologist or a friend or a rabbi or a mentor or whatever it might be, to work and work and work and bend and mold and heat ourselves up and get ourselves to where we need to be. But there's one major factor that we always need to keep in mind. As much as we put forth the effort and work really, really hard, and we can try, and whenever we feel like we're going to fail, we can't quite get there. I'm almost there. I think I got it, right? We keep trying and trying. There's a factor that we always need to keep in mind, because that's how we're ultimately going to accomplish that goal. And that's what we call in Yiddish, or in Aramaic, we call it siyata deshmaya, the helping hand of heaven. God, the God factor, is how we can ultimately perfect our menorah. We take our big block of gold and we work hard and we make mistakes. We learn more about ourselves, and we have to put ourselves back in there to reheat it. I was just watching, I don't know why, all of a sudden on one of my, maybe a Facebook feed, I don't know what it was, one of these knife competitions. They're given a raw piece of metal, and they have to turn it into a knife. Kind of cool. It's definitely distracting, and it definitely it worked. Whoever sent it to me or whoever got it on my feed, you got me, man. I definitely watched one or two many episodes, not full episodes at least. I watched it on like 2 or 3 speeds. So, but it's exactly what it is, right? You literally take that piece of metal, and you work it and you heat it up and you smash it with all your energy and all your strength, right? And this is what you do, and this is what we do in our lives. We learn more about ourselves, and we hit once in a while, hit the gold really hard, and we're like, oh my gosh, look what's hiding underneath there. Look at that spot. Is that a crack? Is it a hole? Is it a problem? How do I solve this problem? And that's what we do, and that's what life's all about. So I think that's part of the lesson. Obviously, that's a deeper lesson of what this concept of taking taking a gold like that and making Hashem says, no, I want you, all of you, every person that I create, you are a menorah, and you're made as a beautiful block of gold that needs to be worked through. And then, God willing, when you put in that effort and you put in the smithmanship, right? Then you're able to go ahead and bring out our best selves. So that's one piece that no pun intended, one piece. That's one piece of the portion that I think that stands out. Will, does that count?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll continue doing some research on the two others, so we'll have to come back to that at a different time. Just to share one more quick idea, unless someone had a specific question about the portion. I guess throughout, we do have one of the major kvetching events of the Jewish people. Major kvetch event of the Jewish people takes place in this week's Torah portion. The Jews have everything they could possibly need. God is providing for them manna from heaven. Food is coming down every single morning, except for Shabbos, right? Every morning it is falling down. Depending how righteous they are, it depends how close to their front door that man falls. They've got it. It gives them all the nutrients they need, keeps their belly full. They're not hungry. They're perfectly healthy. But of course, not only that, according to one of the opinions, they actually also were getting a portion of slav, which is pheasant or quail, depends, what we'll find out, but either pheasant or quail, they were getting a portion of that every day also. So they were getting meat, or they're getting bird, right? Getting poultry, and they're getting manna. Like, what's your problem? But of course, we have to kvetch. We're Jews. What do you want? Right? Well, the answer is don't kvetch. Because when you kvetch, bad things happen. And a lot of Jews died in this week's Torah portion because they kvetched. They kvetched and they complained. They said, where's the beef? Where's the beef? That's what they said. Show me the beef, right? They wanted a delicious smoked brisket. I mean, look, I've never had Corky's, and supposedly it's delicious. I'll have to get it on one of the kosher runs that they do. But I'm sure it's amazing. But it just what are you kvetching for? You got what you need. So what happened, we know it as we talk it out. There was a group of the Jewish people that were distracted by the materialistic world. They were distracted by the fact that they weren't able to eat what they wanted when they wanted it, and they couldn't get exactly, look, the menu was limited. I'll give you that. The menu was a limited menu. So you want to kvetch in that way? They've had this, Gordon Ramsay would not be happy the fact that the menu has been the same for so many years. Gordon Ramsay would be very upset about this, right? You got to change the menu up. Well, you really were able to change the menu up because you could have the manna taste like almost anything you wanted. All right. So it really was a very varied menu. And the idea is, we don't pay attention enough to all the awesomeness that we have in our lives. We get distracted and we focus on the wrong things. We got to refocus the camera so that we're focused on the right things. Not on the stuff that we don't have. We got to stay positive. We got to recognize it, got to appreciate it. And if we do that, obviously we won't get in so much trouble. So we won't kvetch as much. And we're about to kvetch. Well, look, we got a lot of good stuff going on. We like to kvetch. That's another major part of the Torah portion, the kvetch of the Jews and the unfortunate plague that takes place afterwards, that a lot of the Jewish nation were killed out. A pretty strong percentage of the Jewish nation were killed out after this episode. So these are just bits of the portion. There's more there. We got the trumpets. We'll have to talk about another time. If you do a search, you might be able to find something. I already talked about the trumpets in the past, but you probably could find it somewhere. But that's just two of the topics of the portion. Plenty more there to talk about. Hang in for tomorrow's Devar Torah. You'll get another idea that's shared. But that's the scoop. All right. Any questions, thoughts, rebuttals? Would you make that up from? No. What do you have to say for yourself, Larry?
No, man, we're good. I was looking forward to getting together.